Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Coaching Hour. Lovely to have you here for what's going to be a thrilling ride, because once again we have a fabulous guest. Before I tell you who that is, allow me to say hello to my colleagues, friends and colleagues in the coaching world, Mary and Marika. How's it going, ladies?
Hi, Paul. You're good.
Wonderful. Mary, just checking in. Okay.
Everything's good.
Lovely. Fantastic.
The weather's changing.
Yes, indeed. Although I think it's a little bit late. It's normally a bit cooler at this time of the year. So I think we've been lucky. We could have done with a bit more rain, but that's a conversation for another day. Joining us is Loretta once again, and Marika, I'm going to allow you to do the introductions for anyone who perhaps missed a previous installment of the Coaching Hour where we had a chat with Loretta. Fabulous, fabulous guest, very insightful, interesting, colorful, dynamic, lively, passionate, and it's just lovely to have you with us, Loretta. Marika, tell us all about her.
Thank you, Paul. That was quite an amazing introduction for Loretta. Well, again, we have Dr. Loretta Ferrucci with us. So today we are actually going to continue our previous conversation, and that link will be in the description. So we spoke about your purpose and how that could lead to burnout if you are not following your passion or your purpose. So today we are talking about clarifying purpose. It was one of the questions that we had in our previous session. Actually, how do we go about, finding our purpose? So thank you so much, Loretta, for joining us once again today.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Great. So Loretta, let's just quickly have a 5-second recap of what our discussion was about in terms of the burnout and where this actually latches onto, that we can clarify our purpose today.
Okay, 5 seconds. All right, here it comes in 5 seconds. So last time we spoke about how when we are not aligned with our purpose, we are more likely to burn out. And I explained that there were 2 streams of consciousness, and that we're either aligned and creating from our ego reality, which is essentially based on fear, or we're aligning with our limitless spirit, which is based on joy and love and creation. And the more we're aligned with our spirit, the more likely we are to be aligned with our purpose, and the less likely we are to burn out.
So the question was last time, Loretta, and because this is something I get from a lot of my clients, they don't know what their purpose is, and they don't know how to find it. Like, it's something that they have to find or figure out. And I think that is the big challenge, and that's the question that most people have.
Okay, cool. So I have some ideas. Let me just say that some of these are not uniquely my own, and some of them are. So I'm certainly not the world expert on purpose, but I think I've been around for long enough that I think I have a fair idea of what it means to be aligned with your purpose or not. So I think we need to start off by just clarifying that your purpose is not what you do. Your purpose is actually not necessarily attached to your job. You are not just a human being that has a career or a job. You are a human being that has a full life. You have relationships, you have family, you have a spiritual connection, you have social connections, you are interested in creating wealth perhaps, or learning. And so purpose is very often narrowly defined as like doing what you love. But doing what you love is because most of us spend a lot of time at work, is that, your purpose has got to be the work that you do in the world, or that your purpose has got to be something big, like saving AIDS orphans, or cleaning the garbage in the oceans. Now, not that that is not a lofty purpose. It's just that very often, I think, because we have these perceptions of purpose that are not necessarily correct, they're so huge. It's like, well, where do we even start? Okay, and that's what derails a lot of people. Also, our egos, which are essentially trying to keep us safe and trying to keep us trapped in the cage that we've made of what we believe to be true about ourselves and of reality, is trying to stop us from connecting to anything that's potentially going to be scary. So when you think about purpose being this massive thing, that's immediately scary, and your ego is immediately going to shut it down. So when I ask people, what do you want? They often go, well, I don't know what I want. So it's not that you don't know what you want, it's that you believe you can't have it. So you're too scared to even articulate something that you think might not be possible. And so very often when we are thinking about growth, we are focused on what is it that I'm going to have when I have, I don't know, grown my business. You know, how much money am I going to have when I've grown my business to a certain size? And so we start with the have, and then we go to, okay, what do I have to do in order to have that? And then this is how I'll be when I've got that. And I personally think we've gone about it the wrong way, because the truth is we need to start off with, who do I need to be? Who am I actually? And who do I need to be if I want to create $1 billion, right? So what kind of vessel do I have to be able to hold $1 billion and everything that goes with making $1 billion, if that's what you're after, right? And then the question is, once you've actually got that thing that you're after and you are clear about who you are, then you can connect to your intuition to guide you into the do part. So we are so quick to jump into the have and the do part that we completely ignore the be part. And the B part is who we are. So from my definition is that your purpose is to be the fullest, not the best version of you, because that implies that there's a worst version of you, the fullest expression of yourself. And that includes all your bits. That includes the parts of you that are not so great, and the parts of you that are amazing, and the parts of you that you try and hide in the closet, and the parts of you that you're happy to display. And the parts of you that are unconscious, that you don't even know exist. And so if I'm speaking under correction, but I think it was at the Oracle of Delphi, you know, there was a thing when the people went to the Oracle and asked the Oracle for, you know, guidance, the plaque at the top, or whatever was at the top, was like, know thyself. You know, that's the big thing. And Socrates said that to know yourself is the beginning of wisdom, because wisdom and your purpose doesn't lie outside of you. It lies within you. So it's not something you do, but it's rather who you are. And so I think our primary purpose in the world is to truly get to know ourselves, not the things that we think we know, but truly get to know ourselves. And our secondary purpose is going to be an outflowing of that. What do you do with that in the world? What are your relationships like? What are your friendships like? What is your business like? What does your career look like? And not define it to one narrow path to say that if you are not doing the career of your absolute dreams, you're not actually living in alignment with your purpose. Or if you're not saving the world, you're not in alignment with your purpose. So I'm just going to recap okay, so how do we find out? How do we find our purpose? Let's go to that one, right? So I'm just going to recap
don't know who they are. So how can they get to know themselves?
Yeah, how do we start? Perfect. So just to recap on what I said last time, and I'll do this, it'll be quicker, is that if we think that we've got think of ourselves as being made of two primary components. Now, there's more to you than this, but this is a simplified version, right? On the one hand, you have your ego, and your ego is your sense of identity that develops by the time you're 3 years old. And that sense of identity has got all the keys that you've accumulated to teach you how the world works. And essentially, it basically is that map that says, this is what I am, this is what everyone else is, and this is how the world works, so that you can navigate your way through the world and you can cope with the world. And when your ego is developed in those first 3 years, based on your unmet needs or your traumas, you develop limiting beliefs about yourselves. Because as I said to you last time, babies are completely self-centered, right? They don't have anything else in the world that they can hook reality to. So it's all about us. So essentially, we develop these beliefs about ourselves, and we develop beliefs about other people, and we develop beliefs about the world. Now, the ones that are positive, we don't need to talk about, because we don't need to really work on those, and those are not the ones that give us trouble. But the ones that are more negative, that are more limiting, like, I'm not good enough, I don't fit in, I don't belong, I'm invisible, I'm not important, whatever, those are entrenched in our map of reality, and they're part of this fear-based reality that keeps us wanting to play it safe, sticking to the rules of how the world works, so that I can stay safe. And in response to these fears, we develop coping strategies, and those coping strategies are behaviors. They become our habits, and they then also develop characteristics that we associate with, and we call that our personality, and we say, this is who I am. The truth is we have a second part, and the second part is your limitless spirit or your superconscious, or on a more sort of spiritual level, your soul, right? So, your soul is limitless. Your soul has no cage. So if you imagine that your soul is a bird flying, a swallow, right? Flying freely. Every time you develop a new belief, a new construct, a new fear, you basically put another bar of the cage around the bird. And so you build this cage of your egoic reality. So our spirits are limitless. Our spirits have no limits. They exist throughout space and time. And that's the part that if you access that, then anything becomes possible. The problem is that your ego comes along with you no matter where you go, because without it, you can't function in the world. And so what ends up happening is we have this constant tension between what I would love, what my spirit is longing to express through me. So each one of us have a spirit, and each spirit has a longing to express itself through our individuals, us as individuals, which is, I'm expressing my spirit in my unique way, and Marika, you're expressing it in your unique way, and Paul and Mary, and so on, okay? So there's this constant tension between the spirit that is limitless and says, anything is possible, let's go for what we love, and the ego that goes, no, actually, my experience of the world is that it's not a safe place, and it's not particularly benign, and if we step out of line, then we're going to get into trouble. And this is part of what keeps us trapped. So it's really important that we understand our ego identity, so that we understand what our limiting beliefs are and what the strategies are that we've developed to cope with them or cover them up or fix them, and what the personality traits are that we identify with because of those. So I'm going to give you a quick example. So one of my primary limiting beliefs is I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough's coping strategy is to always be the best at what they try, right? So I'm not good enough's coping strategy is the high achiever band. So many people that have got careers of high value have that, right? And so for I'm not good enough, unless you get an A, you're failing, right? I mean, there's no like 50% is not a pass for I'm not good enough. It's got to be 80, right? And in fact, you still wonder where the other 20% was if you've got I'm not good enough. One of the coping strategies of I'm not good enough is to be a hard worker, because how do you achieve without working hard and being responsible, for example? And what flows from that is being strong and resilient and tough. So in other words, if you say to me, so Loretta, what are the things that you love about yourself the most? And I didn't really know myself, I might say, well, my resilience and my toughness, and, I'm strong. And I'll say that's who I am. The truth is that's not who I am. That's a personality trait that's developed as a result of a coping mechanism. That's who I think I am, based on the bars of my cage. If I've aligned with my spirit, I'd be like, I'm a limitless spirit expressing itself uniquely on this planet, and this is what I love, and this is what I'm creating. Now, for me, that might be vibrant health, that might be creating communities, and it's going to be different for each one of us, okay? So our egos communicate to us through our thoughts and feelings and our rational mind. So it always makes perfect sense why you can't have what you want, right? Because the explanation is always going to make sense. It's always logical. And our spirit, we can only access our spirit through our imagination, and it communicates to us through our intuition. And unfortunately, we are not taught that. School doesn't contain that as part of the curriculum. School is egoically based. If you irritate the teacher, you get punished. If you don't do it right, you don't progress. It's 100% a cage-based, egoically based system, as is most structures that we have in the world. And that's why it's so difficult for us to connect to our purpose, because on some level, we all know that we have that. And so there is a man called Robert Fritz. He developed this work called the creative orientation, and he wrote a book called The Path of Least Resistance. And in The Path of Least Resistance, he says that all humans have 4 fundamental choices, drives, loves, okay? All souls have these 4 things in common. We all long to have agency over our lives. In other words, to be the creative forces in our lives. We all long for freedom. We all long for health, and we all long to live our true nature and purpose. And so that is a natural so we've all got that, and it's part of everyone's spirit, which is why we are all so desperate to find our purpose. Like, we know it's there, we just don't know how to access it. And if you keep on trying to access your spirit through your ego, thinking and rationalizing, and well, you're going to be limited, because you can only access it through your imagination, and it can only communicate to you through your intuition, not through your thoughts and feelings. So this is what creates the problem. So when you are clear on what it is that actually runs you, when you are really honest with yourself about what are your thoughts and feelings about a particular situation. And when I say really honest, I've seen this 100 times. People whitewash what they think, all right? So let's just say that someone here in this group has, I don't know, I'm going to pick Paul because he's the guy, you know, so sorry, Paul. So let's just say Paul stole one of my clients, for argument's sake. But I have a relationship with Paul, and I know Paul, and we're in this coaching business together, and, you know, we're all very collegiate. And so you say to me, okay, Loretta, write down your thoughts. You know, when you realized that Paul had stolen your client, what were your thoughts? And I was like, oh, well, you know, another client will come along, or that client wasn't meant for me. That's not true. What were you really thinking? Okay, so I'm not going to use really bad language, which I would normally do, but I would like, you know, I'd like to rip his face off. Paul is a bleep, 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 bleep. I wish Paul could just get hit by a bus. That might be honestly what I'm thinking. But because I'm so conditioned that I'm not allowed to think such bad things about people, can you see how we whitewash that? So we even lie to ourselves about what it is that we really think. Now, here's the thing, guys. No one needs to know what you think except you. So why would you? There's no need for you to lie to yourself. But that's just a tiny example of how we lie to ourselves, you know. Or I might say, I can't stand dishonest people. You know, I can't stand people who lie. It really pushes my buttons. And then you go, well, what about you? Don't you lie? And I go, oh, no, that's something I can't stand. I never lie. But you know, there's different forms of lying. I probably lie to myself all the time because that's what we do. And the truth is, we all lie to get out of trouble. And we all rationalize something, you know, these are white lies, or we lie in order to preserve someone else's feelings. There's different ways of lying, is all I'm saying. Okay. And so the first part of this, before we can connect to all the beautiful, juicy, this is what I'd love part, is to really be honest about what is true for me from the vantage of my ego. So that is, what are my thoughts and feelings really? What are my habits and strategies? What are those limiting beliefs of mine? What are they? How do they run my life? And I want to just tell you, your ego doesn't just like roll over and play dead the minute you go, okay, I'm going to expose all my unconscious things. It's going to do whatever it can in order to preserve that. So it's tricky. It's very tricky. I mean, you know, every now and again, I find out how I'm playing tricks on myself all the time. So that's the first part. You've got to be really honest. The better you can do that, the more you know what your traumas are, what your fears are, what your assumptions are, what the conditions are you impose on the world, what that map of yours looks like, of what you believe the world is and you are and everyone else is. The better you can do that, the more profoundly you can connect to your spirit. The more you whitewash this part, the more iffy the other part gets, right? But so here's the thing, we've all got to start somewhere, right? And so none of us are born experts at this. So make a start is really the way to do it. And so if you please, and we've got a bit of time, I would like to outline a very simple process that you can do to start learning how to do this. Now, just before we go there, I just want to say that the more you learn to align yourself with your spirit, and the more you learn to actually, despite what your thoughts and feelings are telling you, take the action that is aligned with what you love, the more proficient you become at this, and the more you are naturally aligned with your purpose. Because your purpose is who you are, not what you do. Okay. So the first step is to get your ego reality. So if you're gonna do this live, then think of a situation that is difficult for you. Now, please, this is the first time we're going to do this, right? So let's not like pick world peace, okay? Because it's like a bit of a stretch. Just pick something that's relatively minor, like a minor irritation, you know, spouse, colleague, someone who irritates you. The first thing, if you can link it to a specific memory where that person did whatever it is that annoys you, right? So you find the memory of what it is that they did. Be very clear about the memory, because the clearer you are about the memory, the clearer you're going to be about the truth of what was going on at the time. So then you ask yourself, in that moment when that person was doing that annoying thing, what were your thoughts? And just take a note of them. But like literally, you've got to be there in real time, you know? So remember my example with Paul? Oh, I can't believe he did that to me. What a two-faced bugger. You know, I hope he gets hit by a bus. Karma is going to get him, and, you know, whatever, right? That. So record your thoughts. And you just carry on recording your thoughts until you run out of them. And then you ask yourself, as you record those, as you look at those thoughts, when you have those thoughts, well, how does that make you feel? So, you know, in my example is like enraged, incensed, indignant. I mean, how could he, right? And then read through the thoughts and the feelings again and ask yourself, what does this make you want to do? So, you know what? In my case, it might be, you know what? I'm going to be polite to Paul, but it's as if he's dead to me. I'm not going to make any efforts to connect with Paul, because that's my strategy. My strategy is, once you've hurt me, I'm done with you. Okay. So that's what it makes me want to do. So that's a strategy. So now every time you notice that you are getting ready to cut someone dead, you might just go back and say, hang on a second. What was that? Because when you notice that behavior, you know that your focus is in alignment with your egoic reality. Okay, so we got that. So that's how you identify the ego part. Not that hard. Now, in order for you to connect to the spirit part, we have to do a little visualization. So normally I would take at least 15 minutes to do this, but we don't have time. So I'm just going to give you a taste, right? And I did actually speak to Mareka. I have a link. I have a free, I have 3 free videos that I use as a lead magnet, actually. So you can access it for free on my website, and it's better timed, and it'll do this in more depth if you really want to give it a go. Okay. So sit comfortably, close your eyes, take a deep breath in. If you can, do whatever relaxation process you normally do that just gets you sort of in the zone. Okay. So just take a deep breath in, feel your belly and your chest and your collarbones expanding. And then when you're ready, just sigh it all out. Just feel your body getting heavier, relaxing, feel your shoulders dropping, tuck your chin in slightly so that your spine is straight. And take another deep inhalation, feel your belly, your chest and your collarbones expanding. And when you're ready, sigh it all out, feeling your body relaxing even more. And let's take one final inhalation through your nose. Feel your belly, your chest, your collarbones expand. And when you're ready, just sigh it all out. And as you do that, feel your thoughts and your emotions settling like birds roosting in a tree. Feel your body relaxing and releasing, and just feel yourself coming into your center. Now take your awareness to the center of your chest. The center of your chest is an energy center called your heart center. And as you connect and you breathe in and out of that center area of your chest, I want you to think of someone, it might be a child, a pet, a partner, a spouse, that whenever you think of them brings a smile to your face, someone that you really love. And as you think of that person and you feel that love that you have for them and the joy that they evoke when you think of them, I want you to just connect to that feeling and breathe it into, imagine you breathing it into the center of your chest, into your heart center. And just connect to that feeling of joy and love for a moment. Now, I want you to imagine that you're standing in front of a beautiful golden elevator or lift. It's the most beautiful elevator you've ever seen. In fact, it doesn't really look like an elevator. You just know that it is a chamber that goes up, and the bell rings and the doors open, and you step into this beautiful, warm, inviting space. It's like no elevator you've ever seen. And as you look down to the right, you see the dials and the little buttons, and there's a button that has your name on it, and it says your name, Higher Self Vision. And you push the button, imagine the doors sliding closed, and the elevator silently starts rising. It's beautiful, it's big, it's plush, it's roomy, For those of you who have any anxiety around elevators, it's really not claustrophobic in any way. It's you fully relax and the elevator rises quietly and it starts moving quicker and quicker. And you leave your thoughts, your feelings, your stories, your beliefs, you see them receding far down below you as the elevator moves quicker and quicker and quicker. And as it moves faster and faster, you notice that the air around you is glowing more and more golden. And it feels as if your consciousness and your awareness is expanding and you feel lighter. And as you leave all the stories and the reality of your ego far, far, far behind, you feel yourself feeling light, feeling free, feeling expansive and open, and the elevator moves faster and faster, and the air glows more and more golden, and eventually it's moving so fast and you're feeling so light that it feels as if you're floating above the floor. And the elevator moves quicker and quicker, and you let go of your need to know, the pressure to get this right, to see where this is going to end. And as you carry on moving up faster and faster, you feel more open, more expansive, and more empty in a beautiful way, as if you're a clean slate, as if you're a young child looking at the world for the first time. And eventually the elevator is moving so fast that it feels as if it's standing still. And indeed it does come to a standstill. The bell rings and the doors open, and you step out into a beautiful, warm, welcoming space. And as you step into this space, in front of you is a beautiful circle of golden light, massive, more than big enough for you to step into. And it's surrounded by a fine golden mist. And you realize that this circle represents your spirit's vision for that situation that was troubling you earlier. This is your spirit's view of that situation. And as you step closer to the circle, that fine golden mist washes through and over you, and it releases you of any thoughts, any feelings, any misgivings, the need to know, any pressure to get it right. And with that curiosity and that openness of a young child, just connect once more to that love that you have in your heart. And then step into this circle that represents your higher self vision for the situation that we used as our example earlier. And as you step into the circle, just look around you and see what you see. Now, you might visualize an object, something might just pop into your head. It might be a sentence, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way. Just look around you. And whatever symbol appears to you, don't judge it, it might not make any sense, it doesn't matter. And as you look at it, just ask yourself, when you look at this picture or the symbol or this object or the scene even, what does it mean? What does it mean to you? So I'll give you an example. Let's just say that you see a rainbow. You know, it might mean many colors. It might mean variety. It might mean inclusiveness. It may be beauty. It might be peace. It might be a promise. It might be joy. Doesn't matter. Just allow those words to come to you. And as you observe that, how does this make you feel? If you look at this, you look at this object, what are the feelings that it evokes in you? What is the meaning that you ascribe to it, and what are the feelings? And make a note of those feelings and draw them deep into your heart center. And as you immerse yourself in these feelings, in this vision from your spirit and your higher self, just ask yourself, what does this motivate you to do? What does it inspire you to do? What kind of action does this make you want to take? And just make a note of that action. And just imagine yourself stepping out of the circle once more, walking over to the elevator, stepping inside, pushing the button that says current reality, and feeling that elevator move you smoothly and swiftly down to the ground. The bell rings, the doors open, and you step out back into your current reality, where you are right now. You feel the chair supporting you, feel the air around you. Take a deep inhalation, feel your belly and your chest, your collarbones expand, and when you're ready, sigh it all out and open your eyes and come back into the room. Now, I just want to mention a couple of caveats here. You may have stepped into the circle and seen nothing. It's okay, all right? This takes a little bit of practice. Usually the induction time is a little bit longer because we really, I usually try and really connect people and get them very, very relaxed before we go there. And so this is really just a question of practice. And I'm hoping that some of you at least had an experience of how different it is when you view the situation from your egoic reality and when you view it from the reality of your spirit. Because when you review it from the reality of your spirit, you may also get a completely different action to take. And sometimes the action is uncomfortable. So, if I said my reaction to Paul would be, well, that's it. I'm just going to pretend everything's okay with Paul, but actually I'm going to make no effort to connect with Paul in the future at all. And when I was with my spirit, I might have got the tell him how you feel. Or it might even have been ask him his side of the story, because very often, Paul stole my client is really based on an assumption, based on my limiting belief very often, okay? Now, have a conversation with Paul about this might be really hard for me because my strategy is you cut them dead and you move on, all right? So very often, this is another reason why people don't really love this in the beginning, because they're like, well, I don't want to have to do that. And then I go, okay, well, that's fine. Then you can't create what you love. Then you've got to keep on creating what you've always created, which is also okay. This is not wrong or right. Whether you create from your spirit or whether you create from your ego is not wrong or right or good or bad. It's just that the outcomes you're going to get are going to be different. And so you get to choose. We've got a free will. You get to choose where would you like to put your focus. Unfortunately, our habits are so ingrained in us that they make us comfortable. Even though what we create is uncomfortable, we're comfortable with the habits. And so very often when we start responding to our intuition, we sometimes have to take steps that are not always comfortable. So if you practice this, so this is like the first phase, foundation phase. If you practice this, even if all you do is practice getting really, really good and honest about what the truth is of what your ego thinks of every situation, I promise you, you will start automatically aligning with your spirit much better, because we can all do it. This is just a structured way of doing it. We all have areas in our lives that seem to work relatively well, almost effortlessly. In those areas, we're doing this automatically. This little exercise that I've given you and then other work in the same vein essentially just allows it to make it more structured so that we can repeat it consciously rather than doing it unconsciously. So Robert Fritz, who's actually still alive, he's an older man now. He was a composer, and he essentially developed this system called the creative orientation. I don't know if it's called anything else, but I think it's called the creative orientation, because he said that artists can produce the most amazing things, but very often have difficulty in other areas of their lives. And why, if we know how to create a work of art, a piece of music, why don't we take that structure and apply it to the rest of our lives? And so this enables us to be more conscious about creating what we love. So when you practice this, you start getting the doing part, the being part. You start being who you really are. Your intuition starts sending you steps to take so that you can do what you need to do to create what you would love to create. And that's when you actually have it. And you don't have happy. You have fulfillment, because life happens. Bad things are always going to happen. You don't suddenly get protected against everything that is going to potentially be a challenge, right? So bad things are still going to happen, but you are going to be aligned with the limitless part of yourself. And so because of that, you'll essentially develop more resilience. You'll have less fear, and you'll start becoming the master of your destiny rather than a victim of your history. So I hope that made sense. I think my time is up.
That was fantastic. Aside from having a little moment where I could quite easily have fallen asleep, which I think is a good thing, that was very powerful, Loretta, as your presentations always are. So thank you for talking from the heart. That was awesome. What did you think, ladies?
I think instead of saying, how are you, we have to say, how be you today?
love it.
Yeah, no, it's very powerful. And I love the technique because it's something short and easy to even visualize yourself. You know, it doesn't take half an hour, it can take 5 minutes to quickly put you in that space. I guess the more you do it, the quicker you can actually step into that circle and see what you can actually get. Different lessons from situations. Um, yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's going to be very helpful to whoever's watching and listening.
Thank you.
I
Loretta,
love
thank you so much. Sorry, Mary.
No, I just love the way that Loretta explains it. It just flows, you know. Every word she says, it forms a picture in my mind. And I know exactly what she's saying. And that is so awesome. I love that.
Powerful stuff. And I hope that you listening or watching now found it just as powerful as we did. Dr. Loretta Ferrucci, thank you very much for your time. We're going to leave it there for this edition of the Coaching Hour, but we are certainly looking forward to having you on the show again. Thank you so much.